Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. I'm Carver Benson.
And I'm Carly Jensen. Thanks for joining us today for another episode of our Essentials series, where we try to provide context and insights in the current unrest in the West. Each episode, we break down some of the most important issues shaping the world today. So far, we have focused on Trump and the USA. So today we turn to Europe when we're taking a close look at Mario Draghi's recent proposals for the European Union.
Yes, and it's a big one. Draghi, the former president of the European Central Bank, has put forward an ambitious plan to boost Europe's competitiveness and reimagine its future economy. But his vision comes with both promise and controversy. Some experts believe his ideas could set Europe up for success, while others see a few big red flags.
Exactly. We're going to break down Draghi's plans, Andrew McAfee's critique, and how these fit into the larger picture of economic and social unrest in the West. How do these ideas play into the larger dynamics of innovation, regulation, and the future of global competitiveness? Let's dive in.
All right, let's kick things off with Mario Draghi's vision for Europe's economic future. Draghi is calling for three key shifts: green energy, digital transformation, and innovation. His main goal is to position Europe as a global leader in these areas. But let's break it down. First up, green energy.
Right. Draghi is betting big on the EU becoming the world leader in sustainability. His proposal emphasizes a major push for renewable energy, wind, solar, and especially green hydrogen. He envisions a future where Europe not only meets its carbon-neutral goals by 2050, but also becomes the center of the green energy revolution.
And that's an ambitious plan. The EU's Green Deal is a major part of this, aiming to reduce emissions. But Draghi wants to take it even further by encouraging innovation in green technologies. This could mean new jobs and investments in industries like electric vehicles, renewable infrastructure, and sustainable agriculture.
Exactly. Draghi sees green energy as not just a climate imperative, but an economic opportunity. By investing in clean energy, he believes Europe can lead the world in the next generation of technologies. Imagine Europe becoming a hub for clean energy, creating new industries and exporting those technologies globally. Sounds great, right?
Yeah, it sounds fantastic in theory. But when you look at the real-world implementation, things get more complicated. Let's talk about digital transformation, another core piece of Draghi's plan. He's looking to make Europe a global leader in areas like artificial intelligence, 5G networks, and advanced manufacturing.
Right. The goal here is to make Europe competitive with tech giants like the US and China. But the thing is, the US is already a powerhouse in digital innovation. Look at Silicon Valley. It's been the heart of tech growth for decades, and the US government has heavily supported it with tax incentives, venture capital, and a business-friendly regulatory environment.
Exactly. While Europe has some great tech hubs, like Berlin and Paris, it's not quite on the same level as the US when it comes to attracting private investment and scaling tech companies. In the US, companies like Google, Tesla, and Amazon were able to rise to prominence thanks to government deregulation, access to capital, and a culture of risk-taking.
That's the issue. Draghi's vision is focused on a more regulated, government-driven approach, where the state plays a larger role in guiding the economy. The problem is, Europe already has a reputation for heavy bureaucracy and complex regulatory hurdles. It's not always easy to start or scale a business in Europe because of this.
This is exactly where Andrew McAfee, the economist at MIT, comes into play. In his article European Competitiveness and How Not to Fix It, McAfee argues that Draghi's plan is too top-down. He believes that pushing more regulations could actually stifle innovation in Europe, especially in tech.
Yes, McAfee's point is that Europe's overregulation could create more problems than it solves. The EU already has some of the strictest regulations in the world, from privacy laws like GDPR to complex labor regulations. While these are important for protecting consumers and workers, they also create barriers for startups.
Exactly. McAfee points out that businesses, especially tech companies, need flexibility and speed to innovate. For example, if you're trying to launch a new app or develop new technology in Europe, you could face months of red tape just to get approvals. Meanwhile, a company in the US can often bring its product to market much faster because the regulatory environment is more business-friendly.
Right, and McAfee's concern is that Europe's heavy regulatory framework will limit the entrepreneurial spirit that's needed to drive true innovation. He argues that Europe has a tendency to over-regulate industries that don't need as much oversight. For instance, green tech and AI are growing so quickly that imposing too many rules could slow down their development.
And that's something the US has really capitalized on. Look at Silicon Valley again. Private sector investment and venture capital are massive drivers of innovation in the US. Companies have more freedom to experiment, even if some of those experiments fail. The US economy thrives on this risk-taking culture, which Europe doesn't always embrace. The US goes even further. Elon Musk will further cut in the regulations in the coming years, freeing up the US economy even more.
Exactly. And while Draghi's focus on government-led green energy and digital transformation is admirable, McAfee argues that Europe needs a stronger focus on entrepreneurship and private sector growth. Without that, Draghi's plans might just be a series of ambitious policies that never take off.
That brings us to the big question: how do we strike the right balance between regulation and innovation? If Europe is going to move forward, it needs to support businesses without overloading them with bureaucracy.
But we should remember that the intentions behind regulation are inherently good. It protects people, makes sure businesses compete fairly, and keeps things safe and clean. It maintains high standards of consumer protection and environmental sustainability. It makes things fair for all businesses, stops big companies from taking over, and encourages competition. This helps to ensure a diverse and dynamic market landscape. Do we want to turn the European economy in an American one?
All true. But where is the line between protection and bureaucracy? It seems that Europe is overdoing it, which leads to too much regulation.
Right. Draghi's goals for green energy and digital transformation are important, but the EU needs to take a more flexible approach to regulation. For example, Germany has been able to balance its strict labor laws with a growing tech sector, but the rest of Europe will need to follow suit.
Absolutely. And to make this happen, Europe needs to focus on streamlining regulations and making the market more entrepreneur-friendly. It could do this by offering tax incentives, reducing regulatory complexity, and creating a more agile legal framework, things that encourage innovation without stifling it.
Exactly. Europe already has the infrastructure and the potential to lead in sustainability and technology, but it needs to provide businesses with the right environment to grow. That means cutting down on bureaucracy and offering more support for private sector growth.
So, what does the future hold for Europe? If Draghi can navigate these regulatory challenges and find ways to foster innovation alongside sustainability, Europe could become a global powerhouse.
Definitely. The potential is there. But without the flexibility to innovate and grow, Draghi's ambitious plans might fall short. Europe can't afford to just copy what's working in other parts of the world. It needs to find its own path forward.
Right. It's all about finding that sweet spot between government regulation and private sector freedom. If Draghi's plans are able to strike that balance, then we could see a new, competitive Europe. But if not, it might just be another set of well-intentioned policies that fail to spark real change.
Well, that's all for today's discussion in our Essential series. We've looked at Mario Draghi's ambitious plans for Europe's competitiveness and Andrew McAfee's critique of those plans. Where do you stand? Can Draghi's vision work, or does Europe need a different approach?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let us know what you think about the future of Europe's economy and how it can stay competitive globally.
Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed this discussion, and make sure to subscribe for more episodes in our Essential series. We'll continue to unpack the challenges facing the West and explore how they're shaping our future.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.